And now let's turn our attention to the Maldives, the Asian archipelago nation. On Saturday, it voted in the much-awaited presidential election, its fourth election since 2008. 2008 is when the Maldives switched to multi-party democracy, so their democratic history is rather short. And this election was unlike any other. It is being viewed as a referendum, a vote not so much for the contestants as for the regional powers they seem to align with. We're talking about India and China. Who will have more influence in the Maldives? Unfortunately, that is how their election is being viewed. And the result was declared yesterday. No candidate managed to secure more than 50% of the vote. So the poll has now gone to a runoff. And in a surprising twist, the pro-China candidate is said to be in the lead. What does this mean for the Maldives and for the high geopolitical stakes in this region? Our next report tells you.
This is the Maldives, an Asian archipelago nation, home to over 500,000 people. The country became a multi-party democracy in 2008, and on Saturday it participated in an election. The nation's fourth presidential election, a much-awaited one at that. This election was unlike any other. It's practically a referendum over which regional power will have the biggest influence over the Maldives, India or China. Before we get to that, let's talk about the elections. Over 280,000 Maldivians were eligible to vote. The election saw a turnout of about 80%, but no candidate managed to secure more than 50% of the votes. Now the poll has gone to a runoff, which will be held on September 30th. The poll saw a record 8 candidates competing against each other, but in reality, the race has been shaped by 3 presidents: the incumbent, the breakaway and the jail. The incumbent being President Ibrahim Mohamed Solih. He is seeking a record second term, but it seems quite unlikely because he only got 39% of the votes. Solih was seen as the favourite. Chances are his reputation has taken a hit, thanks to his former colleague Mohamed Nasheed, the breakaway president. He became the Maldives' first democratically elected president in 2008. Today, he serves as the parliamentary speaker. Earlier this year, he quit the Maldivian Democratic Party, which increased challenges for Solih. Something that Solih's biggest contender took advantage of. We're talking about Male's mayor, Mohamed Muiz. He managed a lead in the election with about 46% of the votes. Now he will face Solih in the runoff. This is a remarkable achievement for Muiz. After all, he was a late selection. He's running from the People's National Congress. He got a chance to run after former President Abdulla Yameen was jailed. Yameen was barred from contesting following a corruption conviction. It remains to be seen if Muiz can continue this streak. If he can, it won't be good news for India. Chances are it won't be great for the Maldives either. Solih and Muiz aren't merely representing their respective parties, they're also representing 2 neighbouring countries vying for influence in the nation. Solih is perceived to be pro-India, while Muiz is seen as pro-China. During his term, Solih carried out a host of projects focused on health, education and infrastructure, many of which were backed by grants and loans from India worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So a victory for Solih will mean closer ties with New Delhi. But Muiz doesn't think this is a good thing. He doesn't support the nation's dependence on India. He's pledged to expel Indian military personnel stationed in the Maldives.
I don't believe that any other country's military force should come to our country and try to take over. So it's really bad for us.
This may not be the best thing for Maldivians, as it could return the country to authoritarianism. And that's not all. Muiz belongs to the People's National Congress. The party under jailed leader Abdulla Yameen was known for its China tilt. Yameen obtained over $1 billion in loans from Beijing, making promises that exceed the nation's economic capacity to deliver. Now, their economy is strained by debt, and repayments to China are due in 2026. So it does matter who the Maldivians choose, as the new president will not only inherit economic woes, but also face high geopolitical stakes in the region. We'll have to wait for 3 weeks to know the people's verdict.